in 2025, nearly 80 million Americans are living in areas with severe physician shortages, and many states are now turning to IMGs to seek for help to bridge this gap. But did you know that 17 US states currently have now eased licensing pathways for IMGs? This is exciting times for IMG more than ever before. And these aren't just like temporary fixes, they're permanent changes that are happening because they are being enacted into law. And they are aimed at integrating IMGs seamlessly into the healthcare systems in North America. So what are these actually? Let's take a deep dive into it. For instance, 35 counties in Texas have 0 physicians. 224 out of the 254 counties have health professional or physician shortages, and they are now trying to meet a certain target by 2035. So Texas will need about 10,000 new doctors before 2035. So can you imagine that there's lots of opportunities and lots of room for IMGs? If you're new on this channel, I am a resident doctor in internal medicine from the University of Calgary, and here we talk about IMG related stuff and medical students and medical doctors in North America in general. So let's dive deep into the subject. For decades, IMGs have faced a brutal reality of either repeat residency or abandon your career and your profession as being a physician once you think about crossing the ocean, be it Atlantic or Pacific, to North America, be it Canada or the US. But since 2023, 17 states have passed laws creating direct pathways to practice medicine without residency again in the US. This isn't spectacular, it is what is anticipated. Today we'll break down exactly which states. We're talking about what the eligibility criteria are, the hidden traps that you need to be aware of, and how to leverage on them to reach your goals and your ultimate potentials. So stick around. First category, residency waiver states. Number 1, Texas just recently are passing an act called the Doctors Act, HB 2038, and this would come into full play in September of 2025, and then will be final concluded on January the 1st, 2026. And the pathway is provisional licensure and a path leading to full licensure after 4 years of working as a partial licensure holder and fulfilling all the criteria, that is working under a certified preceptor in Texas, and then renewing the license after your 2nd year, and then taking the USMLE step 3 and being fully capable of practicing by the 4th year to get a full license for Texas. So the eligibility criteria here are 5 years post-residency practice abroad, or 10 years if no residency was done by you, passing the USMLE step 1 and step 2, and then showing proof of some English proficiency, and then getting a job offer as well from an ACGME affiliated facility. An ACGME facility is a facility that trains residents in the state of Texas. So one thing that you should remember as a kicker is that you need to renew this license after 2 years, and you obligatorily have to relocate to a rural area in Texas. And if you're from Iran, Syria, North Korea, then you're automatically banned and you can't do this. Number 2, Florida. The unrestricted practice model gives you full license immediately, no provisional licenses. This is amazing and this is really great. But to be eligible, you need 4 years active practice abroad plus encumbered foreign license. You also need your ECFMG certification, USMLE step 1 and step 2 CK. And then what you know is that you must stay with sponsoring employer for at least a minimum of 2 years. So if a sponsor sponsors you, you must stay with them for 2 years. The next one is Tennessee. The pioneers, they're the ones that offer the AB 1312, which is really great. And this pathway gives you 3 years of provisional license, and then you progress into a full license after these 3 years. Eligibility criteria as follows for this one. You need a 5 years post residency practice plus an ECFMG certification plus a USMLE step 1 to step 3 path. So you must clear all the board exams. And the hidden perks about this one is that you are not forced to do rural placement, unlike in Texas where you have to go to a rural area. So this one is pretty lucrative in Tennessee. 4th place is Wisconsin. It's supervision mandate. So the pathway here is that you have provisional license from this state. It's a full license after 3 years that you would obtain if you go through your initial training. So you start with a provisional license and then you can go to full license after 3 years of practicing under supervision of a preceptor. And to be eligible, you need 5 years practice plus USMLE pass in all the steps up front. And the trap here, you have some practice restrictions which should be in those teaching hospitals. Remember, we said the FQHCs, which are accredited hospitals usually for training residents and US graduates. So these are the hospitals that you have to work in, not in private clinics. The next category that we'll look at will be the tier licensing states. So these states don't completely give you full licenses as the ones we've talked about. Number one here will be Virginia. The staircase model is what they call it there, and it provides provisional license that you have to hold for the initial 2 years, then a restricted license that you have to hold for the next 2 years, and then after that you can go to full license. The eligibility criteria is that you have to have 5 years of practice abroad plus clear USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 CK. And then you can have an EEC FMG waiver for like non-cooperative countries. For instance, if you're from a war zone, then maybe there can be some exceptions. Another state here will be Illinois. The clinical observership loophole is what they call it. It gives you 2 years limited license, and then after that you can go to full practice. But to get this, you must have 3 years of practice in the last 10 years plus clear USMLE Step 1 to Step 3. And then the game changer for this particular one is that if you have practice gaps, accept US observerships, and those observerships or experiences will be considered as recency. So that's really, really fantastic and very lucrative. That's a good one. The next state is Lusiana, and they have this special focus program where they are looking at primary care positions for IMG and other specialties as well, such as internal medicine and pediatrics. And they require 3 years commitment to be in a teaching hospital under preceptors in a US designated low access. So you must work like in a semi-rural or rural areas and in teaching hospitals for 3 years to get to a level that is acceptable by this state in Louisiana. So the next category here will be the emerging players. And the provinces that fall under these categories will be Iowa and Idaho. So these states are called the copycat states, and they just try to mirror the programs in Tennessee, but they require telemedicine coverage for rural emergency rooms. So you have to do some telemedicine job, which is pretty easy. You can do that, it's no problem. Next state is Massachusetts, and they have an academic fast track pathway. If you're an IMGs and you have a US publication, then you will skip that 1 year supervision and you can directly go into that partial license. This is really good. And then the state of Washington, they have the clinical experience assessment pathway where they use entrustment skills to evaluate IMGs readiness. And this can lead to bypassing residency applications, which is really good. And then Pennsylvania as well they are still in discussion, so their own process is still pending, but they are trying to see if they can experiment the no USMLE pathway. This will really be the game changer if they're able to do that. And they're proposing alternative exams for IMGs from like the UK, Australia, and Singapore. If you're from Canada directly, you're applicable, you can work in the US. So that for people from these other countries, they're trying to see if they don't need the USMLE, how would they cope in the US system. So that's really good. So you should keep an eye on the Penn State. So with all this information I've given you on these states, I want you to take notes that these laws have landmines though. Visa chaos is one big thing. With the new 2025 US entry restriction targeting IMGs from like 8 countries, you can see that information online on like up to date. This is pretty chaotic and has a disturbing impact on IMGs who are from countries that have some kind of restrictions or bans. And so if you're not from those countries, good for you. But if you're from one of those countries, then that becomes a challenging thing for you to deal with. And most states don't guarantee board certification. Hospitals may reject non-board certified IMGs, which becomes difficult, and those IMGs can become stranded and frustrated. malpractice trap as well. If you don't really have a good mastery of the system, there's lots of lawsuits that could come against you, and this would really be bad. And so you want to try to avoid that. But then how do you dominate in these areas? So 2025 and 2026 could be your game changer. What you should do is you should target like sponsor rich states that directly offer sponsorship without you doing much work, such as Texas, teaching hospitals there, Florida, Virginia, especially their rural networks, they offer sponsors. So you want to check on these. Explore weak supervision states like Tennessee, Wisconsin. They let sponsors delegate oversight, so they're not directly just looking at it by themselves. So that's really good for you as well. Avoid citizenship locked states that want you to be a citizen before you can practice. You should try to avoid those. And then you go to states that can offer visas, such as Illinois. If you want your documentation to get the ECFMG process, sometimes can take time based on your home country. You can go through the FCVs for credential verification. It is accepted by most of this program and they work fairly faster. So I want you to use the FCV instead of using other credentialing pathways. So to conclude, these states that I have just mentioned here have just changed the law and they're enacting and implementing these different things that are cited into laws of those different states. And this is really important. Brutal truth: America's healthcare system needs IMGs. This window won't stay open forever. So start your application now. And when you land that job, please make sure to remember us and come say thank you to us. So if you really want to get involved as well, one other thing that I'll advise for you is that you want to start with the state medical boards of specific states, as I said, and you want to consider working with nonprofit organizations like West, Upwardly, Global, and the Welcome Back initiatives. Join IMG Alliance or State Alliance or Hospital Diversities for different things that you can do or different task force, and this is really important. Okay, so that's it. If you've liked this video, please hit like, subscribe, share your comments, and thank you. I'll see you in the next one.